Sweet are the dreams of yesteryear, of times you never saw. Sweet are the dreams of villainy, to suit your present trial. Sweet are the dreams that take you back, and bid you what if could have been, and if only it wasn't in the never was, that never comes. Bittersweet the bursting of the tree, to know those before did not do as you see with hindsight they should. Bittersweet to know that those hereafter will think the same when their dreams have soured. Bittersweet to think that those before thought the same of theirs, in the never was that never comes. Bitter sour to face ahead, to break this burden, rotten dead. Bitter vow that you would never see the fruit of this work, but sweeter yet than any else, a future destined with blood everlasting health. The dream is them. They are the dream that is yet to begin. An eternity in bloom, a flicker in flower, a flicker, an eternity in you.
master of the lightnings, rider on the storm, wearer of a crown of swords, spinner out of fate. Who thinks he turns the wheel of time may learn the truth too late.
Do you still remember who you are? Do you remember your blood?
I like flowers. And how much do I like flowers? That much. Flowers special by buttercups.
Sweet are the dreams of yesteryear, of times you never saw. Sweet are the dreams of villainy, to suit your present trial. Sweet are the dreams that take you back, and bid you what if could have been, and if only it wasn't in the never was, that never comes. Bittersweet the bursting of the dream, to know those before did not do as you see with hindsight they should. Bittersweet to know that those hereafter will think the same when their dreams have soured. Bittersweet to think that those before thought the same of theirs, in the never was that never comes. Bitter sour to face ahead, to break this burden, rotten dead. Bitter vow that you would never see the fruit of this work, but sweeter yet than any else, a future destined in blood everlasting hell. The dream is them. They are the dream that is yet to begin.
I think so. Hey, can everybody hear me? I'm not coming through, man. Oh, there we go. There's a huge delay. All right, so you guys can hear me, but you can't hear Phil. Phil has actually tried to do the intro a couple times, and I don't know what he's missing. Something's not working on his end. I have no idea what's going on, but he said he's gonna try to take care of that, which kind of sucks because he's better at doing the intro than I am. It's not really my thing. I like to play second fiddle, so this is normally his show. All right. Well, he's telling me I can hear him clear as day. I'm sorry you guys can't, but he's telling me that I'm gonna have to continue talking. So I guess this is the first show that he and I have done since July, I believe. Part of the reason for that is I was laid up in the hospital for most of August. And then I was actually in recovery from surgery for another 2.5 months or so, 3 months. And so I obviously at the time wasn't up for a show. And then for him, he actually had a ton of stuff that he's been working on, creative stuff for his other channel, Mimir's Brunner. And so just between him doing that and my recovery, we haven't linked up hardly at all. And so we haven't been able to do any of these shows. I think even in the last 3 months or so, we've only done like 2 phone calls. So, but yeah, I was kind of excited to do this show, just because we haven't done it in so long, and I don't know. I wasn't sure. I wasn't feeling them before. I was actually like dreading each time I had to do it, and this time I actually wasn't feeling too bad. A little nervous now though because I have to monologue here while he figures out what's going on his end. But
I think I'm coming through. If I could get some confirmation from the audience, that'd be great. How is my volume, by the way? Just because I've had a bit of a play around here. I'm not sure what's...
All right. Yeah, I just heard you come through on the audio, so I think you're good.
All right, then. So, yeah, sorry about that, guys. A couple of technical issues. It's been a while since I've been here, and sorry if it's a little quiet. There's not much I can do. I've put it up as high as I can, and I'm as close to the mic as I possibly can be at the moment. That's a technical issue. That's more hardware, not a internet or software based. So it's something we are going to sort out. And it's only on the left channel. Oh, man. So you might have to just bear with that at the moment, guys, because obviously... just to explain what's happened is I turn RC down a little bit, and then maybe you can turn up and we can balance the audio. But I've had a new mic, and I forgot that I haven't tested it since I haven't done a live stream with this microphone. So obviously there's some problems that I haven't ironed out, and I should have probably tried them. But this was a little bit last minute, as RC said. We've been a bit busy, both of us. I've been working on a load of stuff, and I've been busy with work and, well, just busy in general with life, homeschooling, working, etc., etc. Yeah, so people say
it's kind of interesting. They're saying my audio is too loud and yours is too low.
I've turned yours down a little bit, so hopefully that would equalize it a little bit. But yeah, I'm not sure.
We're such amateurs at this.
I'm terrible. I forgot. I spent an hour trying to work out how to do everything again. So, yeah, I really apologize for this, guys. I should have tested the mic on some test audio first. But But yeah, so I don't know if I can do it live without completely screwing everything up. And I'm only in the left channel. Once,
It's got to
actually,
be annoying for
I tell
anybody
you what,
wearing
I'll try
earbuds.
and sort that. I'll see. People are asking in the audio, just in the chat there, how your recovery went, because obviously you just briefly mentioned there about your surgery, etc. So if you could just tell the
Yeah,
people about that, yeah,
you
and
want to
I'll
fiddle
try and
around
mute
on
and
your end
fiddle.
and
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, recovery's gone well. It did not go well initially. Um, we weren't exactly sure how far I was going to recover. At one point, we were looking at probably less than a 50% recovery, and then all of a sudden, whoa. But then all of a sudden, my recovery just exponentially accelerated. I mean, it was like day by day, it just was crazy how fast I started to recover. So for like, I don't know, 6 weeks, I saw almost nothing. And so I thought for sure, like I was going to have some serious problems for the rest of my life. And then all of a sudden, every day just got better and better and better to the point where now, like, I'm at about 95% recovered, which is far more than they anticipated I would recover. And at this point, I mean, I'm almost back to normal. I'm so far recovered that I don't suffer any real hindrances in life. I can do everything that I could before. I just have some nerve issues, which may or may not be permanent, and lost a lot of use of my pancreas because of the nature of the injury and the surgery and all that. So I do have to take some medications now for to replace some of the enzyme production of my pancreas. But other than that, I mean, I should be good, and I may end up recovering fully 100%. We'll see. I'm only 3 months out, a little more than 3 months out, 3.5 months out from when I first was hospitalized back in early August. I was actually in the process of dying by the time I took myself to the hospital. I should have went 6 or 7 hours earlier than I did. And honestly, the doctor said if I would have crawled in even an hour later, I wouldn't have made it. And I did. I physically crawled into the emergency room at like 1:30 in the morning. But yeah, so no, recovery's good so far. But hopefully it gets better. I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's been nice the last month or so. I've been putting on about 3 pounds a week, which is good because I needed it. Everything they did in the surgery and the recovery, man, I was losing weight like crazy. But no, all good now. It was actually, I don't know, it was an interesting experience. Obviously concerning, but also some of it was kind of bizarre, kind of funny. But I've never had to stay in the hospital that long before, so that was new. I'd also never had this degree of surgery. I mean, my abdomen at this point looks like I survived the losing end of a gunfight. Got about 9 different incision points, and then I've got a bunch of staple marks and stuff like that. So it's different. I'm not real keen on all the scars and just how it like makes certain parts of my abdomen sort of fold up on each other. It doesn't look so good, but I suppose I should be happy because from the middle of August until the end of September, I wasn't actually able to walk. Now I'd lost most of the use of my abdominal muscles due to all of the surgery and then some nerve damage and multiple organ failure by the time I'd gotten into the hospital. So yeah, it should just be, thankful that I'm, from the outside, you would never know anything's ever happened. But yeah, it turns out, I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. Phil, how you doing on your end? Yeah, GC.
Not very good.
Chicks might dig scars, but I'm not sure about these ones. These ones don't look cool.
I can see it's only coming from on the left channel here, but I have no idea how to correct that at this minute. So yeah, that is annoying, and I really apologize. And I'm still trying to correct that at the moment. So,
Well, do you want to just carry on with the show as is?
we'll carry on as is for the second, and anytime I get a chance, I'll have a look at something. Anybody that wants to put something in the chat with a... I can't set the mic to mono, no. It's going through a PreSonus audio box, and it's an XLR cable, so it's going... it's only going into the left channel because of how the box works, but I can transform that normally on most programs, but I have no idea how to do that on OBS. And I'm running out of ideas at this minute. So that's kind of my problem. And I'm really sorry for this, guys. It's a little bit annoying, I know. And last night I was on who's actually restreaming us at the moment, Tim over at White Rabbit Radio, or White Rabbit TV as it is now, I suppose. And I turn up late for that because of technical issues, so it's all a little bit crazy at the moment with me, and I'm getting a bit old now, and technology and me starting to not mix. So I do apologise for only invading your left ear tonight. That's all I can say for now. So RC was telling you about his surgery, and yeah, it happened a few weeks ago, and it was a few months ago. Sorry, now, and it was pretty scary there for a little bit, wasn't it, mate?
Well, it wasn't scary for me. It was painful. I think it was scary for everybody else because by the time I came in, there was less than 50% chance of survival, and then they gave me emergency surgery the following day because they weren't sure what was going on. And after the surgery, I didn't take well, and so I had less than a 20% chance of surviving that following day. So for like 36 hours or so, I was on 15-minute vital watch. So like they were coming in 15 minutes to draw blood and take temperature, check my oxygen, stuff like that. So I think for all of you guys, it was scary. For me, I was so worn out by the time it was all said and done. I mean, I have just the vaguest of memories from those first couple of days. I know you actually called me the day after surgery, I think. Because I remember you said something, you were telling a story of something that happened to you, and like something about it made me laugh, and like the pain in my gut from all the incisions. I think I was laughing. I was like asking you to stop telling the story so I could stop laughing because it fucking hurt so much.
Yeah. Now, yeah. I mean, it was yeah. I phoned you in the hospital. And it was quite like it come out of the blue, but we're glad you're back. Anyway, that's for sure. And you made that recovery. You did pretty good there. But yeah, he was definitely in the hospital. I remember the nurse coming in once when I was calling you. So I can confirm.
I know I was so rude to them because like anytime I was on the phone with somebody, I would just like leave them on the phone, and then like I'd be talking to my nurses for 10, 15 minutes, and that whole thing was crazy, man. I've never been naked in front of so many people my entire life. I think it was at least like 50 people between my surgery team, my nursing team, my doctor team. And then there was like these student teams that would come in because it was like a teaching hospital. Yeah, it was, I don't know, man. The whole process was pretty surreal.
And then it
was amusing now.
Just to update people, I have changed it to mono, but it's saying that I'm going to have to restart OBS. So I don't know what you guys think about that. If you want us to restart, if it's really annoying, I will do it. But obviously, I mean, the stream will cut out and then we'll have to come back on in a couple of minutes. So I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. I'll see what people are saying in the chat. But other than that, we're just... people saying...
I think everybody's okay with it.
Yeah, most people are all right, so we'll just keep going. So anyway, to the show, and sorry there, RC, for putting you on the spot there a little bit.
No, that's all right.
With that intro there, yeah, I did try the intro twice, as RC said, and RC could hear me, so it was kind of weird for him. He didn't know what was going on. I realised the audio wasn't playing. And when I got the audio, like I say, it's a hardware problem. We've changed the mic and changed our setup a little bit, and I haven't tested it with OBS. I've just tested it for recording videos, so it works perfectly for recording videos, but obviously there's some problems with the OBS that I just lacked the foresight to see, and I apologise for that. And like I say, it's been a long time since I've done anything, so my old brain starts to get a bit slower these days. But just to explain where we've been for a little while, that is Mimmersbrunner, me, Rhys, and Hallinder. I've been busy, as I said a little bit earlier, busy with just work and general life, homeschooling and business, and trying to keep up with that. Rhys has made a few changes to his life, and he's out doing some work, and it's meant he's had to move house, as it were. And so he's been a little bit preoccupied with that. I believe Hallinder is in a winter hibernation up there in the north in Denmark. So he's been a little bit slower than normal. So so we've all had a little bit of a break, and as it is the time for those types of things, with autumn coming and then a winter. If any of you haven't catched it or are interested in the more heathen aspects, check us out on Mimmersbrunner. And I did do a stream last year about the winter solstice, where you'll hear me in both ears. We're talking about this time of year, what it means, a time of reflection in the autumn, a time of remembrance of what has come before, remembrance and reflection, so we can bring together our thoughts and learn from our mistakes and learn from our successes too. And bring that over as the solstice comes. We turn from autumn to winter, of course. And in the winter time, it's all about planning. The sun starts to rise in the sky, and so do our thoughts and our aspirations. So it's kind of fitting that we had a bit of a break around autumn as we took time to reflect on where we were going and what we wanted to do, especially in these times as the year 2020, and as the name of this show suggests, has been quite crazy. And yeah, I have the god of technical difficulties there, and I do apologise for that. My wingman with the technical stuff, Rhys, is actually at work at the moment, so he hasn't been on hand to help me, which normally irons out the creases before I get to this kind of point. And I should have done a trial run with him around, so he could have fixed this for me. But yeah, 2020 has been a bit of a crazy year, and like a lot of you, I suppose, I was getting caught up in it all, and getting confused, trying to work the plans out. Now, we did do some videos over here at Mimers Council where we talked about COVID very early on, and we tried to present the information in a very logical way. There was meant to be a second part to that we never got round to, which was what people are calling the Great Reset, I believe, at the moment, Racial Consciousness. But I'm not sure about a Great Reset, but there's a great change coming, and it's all to do with the smart cities. And we were talking about this. I mean, RC would tell you we had a few conversations about this very early on, about how the technocracy was going to come into play. But I never got round to that, sadly, getting that video done, that documentary. RC, do you want to say something there? Sorry.
Well, it'll be a reset if the powers that be have their way, for sure. They're going to try to make it a full reset, no doubt about it. Obviously, not to the benefit of small people like us, the little guys down on the ground. But dude, you've been an absolute prophet since the outbreak of this whole thing. I mean, I remember, when all this first came down the line, in last February and March, I was on the fence. I didn't know what to believe, and like you were, almost everything you've said has happened, and I can see now all the other stuff that you said that hasn't happened yet. I can definitely see it happening. It's coming down the line. Like you said, they're going to use all this to control travel, like control flight, which they're already doing. They're going to use this to institute some type of social credit system, like, oh, you didn't get the vaccine, well, we're going to go ahead and close your account down, your bank account down now. They're going to use all of this to exert a lot of control over the civilian population.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of misinformation though early on as well, because people used the China example, which I was going to show in the documentary actually, to show what people don't realize about the China example with the credit score system and things like that is it's actually not forced. A lot of misinformation, the democracy warriors out there telling you that it's actually all done by consent. And that's what they're going to do here. Just as an example of this, if you look at places like Amazon, Amazon Prime now, if you pay a monthly subscription to Amazon Prime, you get free books, free music, free films, free TV series. You get free delivery next day. All of this for one monthly sum, right? Free sports events. These people are pushing the technology, and out of convenience, you will sign up to Prime and you will use all their services. And then if they kick you off, and in the future, this will expand into even more services. It might even expand into medical services, etc., etc. We see where it's going. Then Amazon become your default government or somebody like them. And the same happened with the Chinese credit score system. Actually, what they do is you get perks. You sign up for the system, you get perks for it. So you want to rent that car for a little bit cheaper? Well, sign up to the system and you get the perk. You get to rent the car cheaper. You get approved for a loan faster because they've got all your information. You don't have to send them a single form. They just look you all up on their little credit score and they send you a reply back instantly. And through convenience, the great killer of man and great killer of the vital nature of man, we will hand it all over. It will not be taken from you. But we didn't really want to talk about this tonight, but we might have to do a show about it. But I might do a show with, I know my good friends and people that listen to the show a little bit more often will know that I do a show every now and again with Steed and Edric, and they're well-versed in this too, those guys. So I might have to do a show about that there. But me and RC did a little post, was it today or yesterday? You did a post asking people what they'd like to hear from you, RC. Was that today, mate, or was it yesterday?
No, it was a few days ago, I think.
A few days ago.
I think it was actually just after we had decided we were going to go ahead and do a show.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we had a few points there, didn't we, that we wanted to jump around and just, like I said, it's meant to be a casual show, but it got off to a bit of a technical difficulty, so we got a bit over it, but it's more of a casual show tonight, just us having a bit of a chat, touching bases with everybody out there, telling everybody out there that we're still alive, we're still okay, etc. And just having a little bit of a conversation about some of these questions that were brought up and some of our own thoughts of what we've been thinking about recently. So I'll kick it off with one of the questions that you picked out, and we're going to go off tangent a little bit on these and talk more. How would you call it philosophically on some of these subjects, RC?
What do you mean?
Well, with some of the questions, we're not just going to answer them directly. We're going to go a bit more philosophical with our answers.
Yeah, it's not going to be technical. That's not how either you or I really work anyway, is being real really. Academic or technical about stuff. It is going to be more philosophical, maybe a little more abstract, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, one of the questions you picked out there, Ossie, was like about the pro-white community and real-life movements. And this is obviously a big subject and has been for probably since forever, really. We've always wanted to position ourselves and get our ideas out there in a very in a formal way, but in a way that appeals to people and appeals and adheres to our moral compasses. So any thoughts just to kick us off there, RC, or do you want me to start?
No, go ahead. I'll follow.
Well, one of the things that I think this boils down to first, with any kind of community or any kind of movement, I mean, we're definitely not a movement yet. I'll say that 100%. Is first, there's so many labels bandied around. I mean, we've all heard them. Everybody accused everybody of being something: a capitalist, a communist, a socialist, and labels go far beyond politics now. Labels go into, I mean, look at all the pronouns for how you meant to label a person, right? A she, he, them, that. All of this kind of stuff. So we're obsessed with labels in the modern age. So when we're trying to figure out a pro-white community or a movement that's going to take us forward, first I think the question should always be, who are we? On an individual level and as a group. And then the second question after that, and these are big questions, are what do you want? And I think that's something that we're having some discrepancy over, not just what we are, but what we want. And I don't believe that any pro-white community, any pro-white movement is real life or otherwise, is going to really get anywhere unless a group of people get together and decide what they are, and decide what they want, have a very cohesive plan of how they're going to go about it, and then buckle under no pressure, make no compromise with their values or ideals, and push forward, and create almost their own mythos, their own idea of the world. Now, there's a few tangents to go off there, RC. I don't know if you want to jump on any of them.
No, I did want to sort of reinforce what you said, that I don't see what we have right now as a movement. I see what we have right now as a community. I know I used to default and just say the pro-white movement, but there really isn't a movement. It's not really going anywhere, and that's okay. That's not a criticism, but it's more of a pro-white community, I would say. And yeah, it's at this particular point, I mean, it's pretty atomized, right? I mean, it's pretty formless, it's pretty shapeless, it's leaderless, it doesn't really have a structure whatsoever. And again, that's okay. That's not a criticism, but one of the reasons why we're covering this topic is because over the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months, going back to May, when the riots and stuff started happening and the protests and all that, we're seeing a lot more people wanting to take this very seriously. They're wanting to shift out of a online social media only sort of thing, and they want to know, how do we build something real in real life, whether it's an actual political party itself, like a legitimate one, or whether we just want to build small little groups and communities in real life that are just there enough to protect their own people in their own neighborhoods. And I think it's good. I mean, it's unfortunate that things are becoming as violent and hostile as they are, but at the same time, it's good that people are starting to pursue these types of things in real life, because it has to begin with real life communities. We can't always just be an online entity. I mean, this thing has to become something real in real life, whether it is a major political party, which I don't see happening in the near future, but whether it's that, or more likely and more practical, real life communities, just getting to know your neighbors and actually creating basically pro-white neighborhoods.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, on a personal level, and this is on an individual level, I think one of the things that people need to focus on are those simple questions of what they are and what they want. And I might do a stream on this, so I don't want to go too deep into this. I might do a stream on this in Mimir, because I think it's a really important kind of a questioning yourself topic without no firm answers. I don't know all the answers, but how to get the answers out of yourself. But we need to know what we are, and on a personal level, because you've got to move forward. I think many people find out on the online world, and that's why it's big, right? That's why there's a lot of social media. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of black pills. There's a lot of people finding some hope and then losing that hope. So they find the community, then they see the infighting, they see the lack of direction, the lack of any real world movement, and then they lose hope again. So they wish they'd never even found it, really. They want to go back to where they were before sometimes.
That's an important point, is I think people, they misunderstand the purpose of social media. Everything has its place. Social media has its role to play in the pro-white movement, the pro-white community, but it's not meant to be the only aspect of it. And that's the important thing. If you use social media correctly, you won't black pill, you won't burn out, you won't lose hope in anything. You'll just recognize social media for what it is, both in its potentials and its limitations, and then incorporate that into the broader pro-white community or pro-white movement, when it becomes a movement. But it's just knowing what each thing's role is, what each thing's purpose is in the greater whole.
That's what I mean. Some of the most simplest, as a heathen myself, I take my inspiration from nature, and the first thing that nature always teaches you is to ask yourself the simple questions before you try to get technical or complicated or talk about facts, or know what you are and where you want to go, why you want it, and how you're going to achieve it. And on a personal level, I think what a lot of us can do is take solace in our own faith, whatever that may be. Try and explore that, because I believe this is more than ever becoming a spiritual battle. Now, I know that might sound corny to some people and a bit weird, but an essence of strength that it's going to take to get through this is going to take more than the logical brain can muster. It's the logical brain is a very useful tool. It's exceptional, but it's got its uses. Like RC was saying, you've got to take everything for what it is. The spiritual, the more emotional, that can drive you through when there is no hope. And as some of my videos over on Mimir's Brunner have put forward, our ancestors have drove through that hopeless situation many times in the past. We are facing something new for sure right now, but not anything different in the sense of, has there always been struggle? Yes. And each era has its own struggles. Each era has its own time to shine or fail. There is a cruel aspect to this world, and failure is an error, right? It's nature's error. Failure is error, and nature gets rid of error quite efficiently. But focusing on yourself at the moment, if you, the wider community, and just to reinforce something that RC said there, before we get thinking big ideas and big plans, if you can't take care of your own stuff, if you can't live a life that you're happy with, no excuses. Because I see often many people say, well, if only this, I'd have a family with X amount of children. If only that, I'd have this. Well, there could be that old male that never got a pride, old male lion that never got a pride. If only he'd challenged that mighty lion once, he might have had a pride, but he didn't. If onlys are there for what you didn't choose. Nothing is handed for free, and if you expect it for free, if you expected your ancestors to hand it all on a plate, then would you even be worthy of it? We've got to get what we want by our own drive, our own inspiration, our own desire. Desire is often seen as a bad word, a naughty word, but desire is what keeps you going. Desire, what the craving for the food, the craving for what you want, and we can make no bones about this, that the people that are in control right now, they didn't get there by accident. They didn't wake up one morning with all the media at their disposal, with all politicians in their pockets. They didn't wake up with that. They got it. And we didn't see it coming, or not us personally, but some of our predecessors didn't see it coming. They saw the good in people. They made errors, made mistakes, like we did, and like I've done in my own personal life. But before we can make any kind of movement to challenge anything, we have to be worthy of that movement. And I think that's the first thing that we need to do, is make ourselves worthy of what we want to create with no excuses. Because there are no excuses in nature. There are none. It is or it isn't. You win or you lose. There's very little halfway gaps. There's very little grey areas. So I think, like, in my idea, when I want to give people advice on this, it's always focus on yourself first. When we've got enough people worthy of a movement, the movement will form. Natural leaders will shine. And something we wanted to talk about too, RC, was, you touched on it there just with social media, but ourselves and who we are and how we approach the problem, right? We're all got our own unique gifts and talents. And one of the questions that I asked earlier about who you are is finding out what they are. Find out what you're good at. Find out bad patterns in your life. Reoccurring ruts that you're just driving yourself into the ground with, going around in circles. And try and break those and look for where, when you felt proud of yourself, when you felt worthy of your life, when others came to ask for you for help, what is it they needed from you? Find out what your talents are, because when you get yourself together, when we get enough people that have got themselves together, who know who they are, who know what they're good at, and we can all agree on some kind of loose goal far off in the distance that we can all walk towards, then I think the movement will form. It will happen. But until that time, I think the big plans, these people wanting everything to just sort itself out overnight, have got too used to the movies and the video games of the heroes just winning in one outrageous battle or something like that. Anyway, sorry there, I rambled a little bit, RC. So have you got any thoughts there, mate?
No, you don't have to apologize. You always say everything that I would think about saying, and then some. So I don't mind at all. No, you covered it pretty thoroughly. We can't force an actual movement to grow. That's something we have to understand. Like you said, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen organically, and it's going to happen in its time. Now we can definitely do our best to go out and try to motivate other people, right? But that's where it begins, is you have to wake people up. And even once if you've woken them up, I mean, they
And
have to actually care.
just
You
to
know, we've
just to
got the
jump in there, and nothing leads like example, right? You want to wake people up, be that greatness that you want them to be.
Sure, yeah, and that's another component too. So this thing is so multi-dynamic. You know, we've all heard the saying that, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Well, you can also lead a white person to the truth, but you can't make them care. And I've experienced that a lot over the last 18 years or so that I've been doing this. Is I can pretty quickly and pretty simply illustrate to most white people that there is in fact some type of coordinated effort against our race to make sure that we are marginalized and discriminated against, and so that we don't have a collective sense of consciousness, of pride, of identity, of power, political power, or any type of power, even in nations where we are completely native and should have all of the privilege of being, you know, the majority population. That's just natural. I can do that pretty easily, but I'll find these people, it's not enough to motivate them. Simply seeing the truth isn't enough, right? It has to affect them personally on some level before they care. And so we have to take that into consideration too. It's just because people know, that doesn't mean they care and are going to act. So yeah, it's going to be a long process. And, you know, we've all heard the saying that it's going to have to get worse before it gets better. It really is. I mean, even the most racially conscious white person who can see everything going on around them, they're not going to feel too motivated because life is still pretty comfortable. You know, even for the most impoverished American, I'll tell you, is still pretty comfortable
Yeah.
for most people. They can still get all of their daily needs met uh, without much suffering. And unfortunately, that's what it takes to get people to really care in the real world. But in the meantime, you know, the one thing you have absolute control over is you. So you can become the change you wish to see in others. And that actually is how, like you just said, Phil, that's actually how in your personal life, that's how you influence people to start to change what they're doing. If you make some serious changes and other people see that and they're inspiring enough, I mean, other people are going to follow suit. That's just human nature. And again, that's our whole philosophy here, is that we are a product of nature. We are born of nature, and therefore the natural order is within us. And we have to operate within that natural order for things to grow. And that's human nature. Is the majority of people are supposed to be followers, and very few people are supposed to be leaders. So, you know, if you do feel like you yourself are a leader, don't say it, just do it. Don't talk about it. Just lead by example. Do the things a leader is supposed to do. You're not a leader just because you go out and declare yourself one. You
No.
actually have to live the thing that you want other people to live.
And this ties us in a little bit with the infighting question that you got as well. A lot of people asking about the infighting.
We're actually seeing that in microcosm right now in the chat. I was
Yeah.
waiting for a good time to address it, but go ahead.
No, but it's the same principle. People want to criticize, lead. If somebody's got 100,000 followers that are willing to do whatever, and I've said this, I mean, remember when they got millions of women all over the world to wear pussy hats? People laughed. We laughed. Haha, how funny. I looked at it and said, hold on. These have the power to make people wear ridiculous things and believe that they're doing something positive. They're doing something emotive. They're changing the world by some ridiculous act. I can criticize that leadership. I can criticize where it's going. I can attack its ideology. But what I can't attack is its power. They're showing leadership. Some way, they have all the media, yes, they have all these other things, and I understand that, but they're showing leadership. If somebody's got more followers than you, more whatever than you, and they say that they and you think that they're silly or stupid, show them that you're better at their job than them. That's how nature works. Yeah, you'd like to say, going back to the lion analogy, right? The lion, he makes choices every day. And another thing, just to touch on freedom here, right? You see all these banners about freedom saying about tyranny, so telling us they're taking all our rights away. With the first point is no rights were ever given to you when you were born. I've saw videos of a zebra get eaten alive within the first few minutes of its life. What rights did that zebra have? That zebra only had the rights of his tribe, his group, to protect that young zebra. That's the only rights he got. All your rights you have are from your collective. The collectives that we have at the moment are our states. They are given to us by the state, and they can be taken away by the state if it gets corrupted. Good men make states, corrupt men take them over. That's been the way of history for as long as it has, for as long as it's been, right? And it's the same in there. Anybody talks of freedom, anybody asks for freedom, it's the most ridiculous concept in the world to ask for freedom. Everybody is born free, yeah, but nobody is born free of consequence to their actions. Like I say, going back to that lion analogy, the lion makes a choice every day, several choices that affect its life, its ability to exist, or its ability to die. Will it take over that pride? Will it die emaciated and weak of starvation with no offspring? Will it die at the horns of a predator that it was chasing down? It's free as you like, but every single day it makes choices where it could end up dead. We're so used to having no consequence to our action, zero consequence almost, that we play within the lines, and everybody will say, well, we can't do that now. It was different then, and all these excuses. Well, every age has its battles, like I say, and every age is a different battle. And this is ours, and if we can't rise to it, we will fall under it, just like that poor zebra. Just be crunched out of existence, and no one will ever remember it. It's just, and like I say, this seems like a brutalist example. But you are free in every expression. By your very existence, you are free. Life is freedom. It is the expression of nature as a free being. You don't ask for it. You be it, essentially. But I lost my original point there. I think where I was meant to talk about something else, but I got drifted off on another analogy there. So I don't know if you want to tack on anything there or make your own point there, RC, before we get back to, it was infighting, but carry on, mate, if you got something.
No, I mean, we could just continue on with the point on infighting.
Yeah, and we've got to with infighting, the same applies with the lion. Like I say, the lion doesn't act like the king of the jungle, even though it lives in the plains. It doesn't act like that. It is that, or it isn't that. Yeah. You can watch any nature documentary you want, and you'll see a successful lion with a load of lionesses around him with loads of offspring, and you'll see the unsuccessful, emaciated lion with none. Both of them claimed to be the king, only one of them was. So words are cheap in those aspects, and I know my words here are cheap, and I make no excuses for my inability to have got the change that I want. All I have to do is, as I said, it's a time of remembrance, reflection, and replanning. And all I can do is reflect on my failures, my mistakes, and my successes, and see where to go next to try and influence my environment. Because evolution, however you want to look at it, evolution of the soul, evolution of the physical body, all revolves around an interaction between man and his environment. Whether it be a natural environment or not, and man must force upon the environment to an aspect his own will, so that it reacts to him just as much as he reacts to it. And at the moment, we're in a very a reactive stance, right? We are constantly reacting to our environment. Our environment is constantly shaping us, and we're doing little to shape it. And unless that changes, we're going to become products of that environment. I mean, we can only look at what they're doing to the children with some of these obscene and absurd ideas with the transgenderism and all these drugs that they're giving young children. Me and RC talked about this a little earlier before off air, where we're talking about all these horrendous drugs that they're putting into the changing the chemical and biological makeup of these children before they're even formed. And so these children are going to become products of their environment. And sadly, what they want us to be is product domesticated, where we have to ask for our freedoms. We have to ask for our rights. We have to play the fool, roll on our belly, and hope we get a tickle, right? Sorry. So I'll see you got anything to add there.
Yeah. Well, to add on to what you were already saying is we have to, with everything we do, we have to begin at the beginning. You know, we have a vision in mind towards the end, but we can't just like step into the middle of the process, right? Because we are within the fabric of nature. And again, nature, being a product of nature, it dictates who we are to a degree. You know, we can decide to act or not, but the manner in which we act will determine the nature of our success. And part of human nature is that we are a community species. We are not a species of individuals. We've never succeeded as individuals. We've only succeeded when we do things communally as a group, following a natural hierarchy, some type of structure. You know, where through merit somebody demonstrates themselves to be, you know, a leader, or somebody else demonstrates themselves to be a loyal follower or something like that. And that is where all of this begins, is knowing who you are and what your individual role is in the greater collective body of the pro-white community. And basically just to fulfill that role without trying to be something you're not. And then without interfering with other people doing their role, carrying out their role. Because even though we're all part of this this community, we're not all going to be doing the same things. We don't all have the same roles to play. And it may seem like at times the trivial differences between us make it seem like we're not on the same team. But when you really get down to the foundation of why we're all here, you'll find that the differences between us really are just that. They're trivial. They're not significant in any way. They're almost illusory. They're non-existent, especially when you consider what the stakes are. Because again, we're talking about nature here. And nature has put so many species in the dirt permanently, long before we ever got here. And don't get it in your heads that the human race, or the human species, I should say, even the white race as it is special. We're not. Nature will snuff us out just as fast as she has any other species before us. And she won't bat an eye about it. This is the nature of this universe. It is very cold. So, you know, I think human beings, by nature, we tend to suffer from a collective delusion of grandeur, right? Almost every single religion in the world likes to claim that, you know, one or the other is some type of chosen people, but there is no chosen anything. Nature decides or determines that you either live or you die. That's it. You're either good enough to survive and pass on your lineage, or you're not. And some other living being will do that instead. Nature does not care. So it's up to us to do things right. You know, this isn't going to happen magically. If we make it through this, it will be because we chose to set aside the bullshit and unite and fight together as we're supposed to, rather than interfering with each other over trivial and semantic details.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just go back to one of your points there at the beginning, because obviously I can see people in the chat talking about individualism misunderstood, and how in the modern world we're taught to be individualist and collectivist. But me and RC was talking the other night, actually, and this subject came up a little bit. Despite the modern world being what it is, we spend, you know, the best part of 100,000 years being tribal. We are by nature and by action tribal creatures. You're not going to get rid of that in a few hundred years or even 1,000 years of individualism. Our actions, I mean, even to talk, when I was talking earlier about, just to show you how ingrained this is, most people become more lethargic in the winter. They get a little bit more tired. I know I certainly do, and I know a lot of people do up here in the north. We want to rest more. Because for thousands of years, that's what we had to do. There was having lots of energy while you're stuck in a little hut with a snowdrift outside is not going to do you much good. And that's why we come to life in the sun, and many people consider, you know, the sun was, the rising of the sun was the most important, the time of year that we're coming to now, the winter solstice. where the sun ends its descent, it has its symbolic death and rises once again, because in that rise, we rise with it. We rise with the sun because the sun is our life. And when we get to the harvest, we've got our full energy. So when the sun is at her zenith, so are we. We move in the tides of nature, and they've been like that for thousands and thousands of years. The idea that 100 years is going to change our absolute, change our inner clock is wishful thinking. I think. And have you got anything to add on that, RC?
No, nothing right now.
No. So, but now something I touched on earlier, because we'll move on to the. Because this was a very keep out of infighting. One thing I want to end on with infighting is kind of let the dogs fight, right? If you don't want to be part of it and you don't like it, the infighting, just move away from it. Do something better yourself. You don't have to even tell them that you don't like it. Idiots will always fight amongst themselves. Fools will always make fools of themselves. Let them. Start your own thing. Don't worry about it. If you've got a bet, and if you want to challenge an idea, don't have to name anybody. You don't have to bring their video up to try and get clicks. Put your position out there. Inspire others with your words. Inspire others with your actions. Do what you think is right. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. That's the fastest way to distract you from everything you're doing.
There's something I wanted to
Yep.
comment on. Seeing a lot of people in the chat talking about individualism versus collectivism.
It's a big subject.
And yeah, well, I want to just, and I don't have to go on any sort of long tangent here. Just to simplify, you can have both individualism and collectivism at the same time if you understand that you can have an individual personality, and you should, because that's part of, again, who we are by nature, your individual personality. But you can have the collectivism by setting aside, your immediate egotistical wants and needs, and instead serve the greater good of the community. So, but you can do all of that. You can serve your community in your own individual way as an individual, so long as, again, you're not putting your selfishness first. You're putting the community's needs first, and that way, again, you can maintain your personal individual identity while still being part of a greater collective that's bigger than you.
There's a simple way to look at it on a state level. Very simple, right? The individual rights a state should give in a healthy state, and remember, a state is an agreed upon terms by a group of people. But just to point out there, if you want to look at the state for what it is, right? The state is the earliest states, the tribe. The tribe is an agreed upon group. A group of people get together. They agree upon certain rules and rights within that community. And then those rights and rules within that community mean nothing to the tribe next door, mean nothing to the wolves at the gate. Yeah. Those rights and those laws and that society that was within the tribal walls is only worth the value people are willing to pay for it. If you have within that tribe 100 men that are willing to stand at those walls and die for what is inside it, then that state has got a good chance. If you have people that are going to say the consequences are too high to defend it, they will never have the right to make those rules, right? That's the basics there of what a state is. And in a state or a tribe or whatever, everybody has individual roles and needs. And the most simplest way to understand a positive state is that the needs of the individual do not outweigh the needs of the masses. In it, and now that can be used. People will go, well, that can be used both good and bad. Or if people will bring up bad examples, people will bring up good examples, because it all depends upon what the people inside it have agreed. In our current state, we've agreed nothing. Our states have got to a phenomenal size, way beyond nature's expectations. Most creatures in nature have a limit to the size of their troop. If it's chimps, etc., normally about 75 chimps would make up a troop before they will naturally split. The whole point and process of people wanting more power has always been to increase that number. How many people can we get to live under one nation? Or, as we're seeing at the moment, one world. But yeah, they're the basics of individualism versus collectivism. If my individual actions harm millions of the collective, harm millions of my people in my nation, for example, if I'm dumping chemicals into a river stream that people are getting their water pumped from, then my individual rights to dump that shit there, it ends right there because I'm affecting others. And a good example of this, I've used this example before just to explain, because some people are like, well, I don't want to, I want to be completely individual. I don't need the state. You don't need the state. Well, what happens if, say, you've got a bit of territory on the edge of Germany and you've brought it and they're asking you to pay taxes and they say, hey, you know what? We need you to farm that land. And if you don't farm it, we're going to take it away from you. And you go, hold on, you're abusing my rights. I can do whatever I want with this land. I can just sit here and do nothing. Well, this country might go, the nation might say, well, we need food to feed ourselves. We need food to become self-sufficient. And you might go, I don't care what you need. But what happens when France invades? Who are you going to call? You're going to go, hey, government, there's a load of French people here saying this is theirs. Can you come? If you expect young men to come die for what you have, then you better be willing to feed those young men and pull your weight within that community. If you're not willing to pull your weight within that community, you don't deserve the land, and no young men are going to come die for it. Sorry there, but it's normally a good example to get people to try and understand because everybody just thinks that the state is bad. We've got this idea that the state is bad, even in our own circles, that the state is inherently bad, but the state is only as bad as the leaders, really. The leaders will, as I said earlier, will shape their environment. And if you've got bad leaders, your environment's going to look real bad. It's going to look real ugly real fast.
Yeah, government isn't inherently bad. It's not inherently good or bad. It's just it's its own thing. It just depends on who's sitting at the throne, right? Like, obviously right now I'm highly critical of every government in the West right now, especially my own in America.
Yeah.
But that's because there are horrible people governing. If we had good people governing, I wouldn't have a criticism against the government, because I don't have general criticism against government. I'm not an anarchist. I personally prefer more government as opposed to less, but under the conditions being that government be pro-white,
Yeah,
and
Rich
that it
made
be
a good point.
honest, and it may be good.
Yeah, Rich
but
made
otherwise that's right. What's that?
Rich made a good point. Government is just a tool. It's a tool of a society, and he's very right there.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's another thing too that most people misunderstand, is that government it's not meant to be something that controls people. It's actually supposed to be something that the people use, and it's supposed to serve and protect the people, not the other way around.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's, like I say, it's an agreement within, and then you have people willing to protect that agreement. At the moment, we don't really agree to nothing, and we're being pushed and pulled in so many different directions. Everybody's got their own truth. Everybody's got their own ideas of what the truth is. Everybody got their own facts. We live in a pick and choose nation. As I said, I mentioned this on the show last night. We've gone from living in the ancient observed reality, where everything we know is because of what we see and people we personally trust have told us, to an age of received reality. We're told the truth of this. We're told the truth of that. I mean, take this vaccine debate. I'm anti-vax, and I've been anti-vax for a very long time. So there's no way I'd even take it no matter what. But I can pull up documents, videos, research papers, both on the pro and the negative. I have to end up choosing what I want to believe, because all these people have the same qualifications. All these people, so I have to. It's received, not received. It's a informed decision making on my part, but I'm sure somebody that takes the complete opposite position to me will also say that their argument is informed, because that's the way reality is. There are things in reality that you cannot change. If you hit a wall, but how you perceive reality and how you go about your life within that reality is mostly down to what you believe. How you act is down to what you believe. What you do is down to your beliefs, not necessarily any reality, whether informed or not. And this is one of the things, just to go back to the pro-white community, etc. We have to almost create our own mythos, create our own way of life within this society. that is more appealing, that is more virile, that is more inspirational, and draws people in. As RC said earlier, you can take a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. We've got to want them to drink, and if you want any idea, will only do as good as the leader that can sell it. Yeah, essentially, if you want to use modern economic terms, you've got to show the people what it is you believe, and we're more emotive than we are logical. Human beings have always been like that, especially in the wild northern European. We've been very illogical sometimes with the way we've fought battles, with the way we've done things, but in many instances we've always been ourselves, and that's the most important. But we're getting on a little bit here. So there was a really interesting question I did want to get to, because it was one that was picked out by RC, and I agree with him. It's a really, really interesting question, because on first take, it might seem like they're asking about the same thing. And I'll let RC have a go at this first, because he picked this one out specifically. Being pro-white versus anti-non-white. The difference, RC.
Well, this is the...
Yeah,
this is almost always the first thing we're confronted with when we whether we're engaging opposition or we're engaging neutral parties who are curious about our position. You know, you could say I'm pro-white, and almost always you get a response, well, why do you hate non-whites? Why do you hate blacks? And it's almost laughable, but that's how everybody's been conditioned, is that if a white person at all cares about their own race, well, clearly they hate every other race, right? Or their only motivation for being pro-white is a hate for non-whites, which is really bizarre. But that's the manner in which we've been conditioned. And so, unfortunately, this is a real dichotomy. You can be pro-white or you can be anti-non-white. One of which is positive, and the other is negative. But it's like this in every choice you make in life. You can present your position from a standpoint of what you stand for, or what you stand against. Now, if your first step is what you stand for, you're automatically operating on a positive note. Versus if you just come out and say, well, I oppose this, or I stand against this, well, you're automatically operating from a position of negativity. Case in point, Antifa. Their whole program is encapsulated in their name, Antifa. They claim to be anti-fascist. They stand for nothing. They only stand against certain things, and that'll tell you exactly how far they're going to go. It's also saying that the only reason they exist in the first place is because fascists exist. And so if they're anti-fascist, naturally they cease existing once fascists cease existing, theoretically. Now, as a pro-white, I'm just pro-white. There doesn't have to be any other race on the planet. I don't care. My position is I love my people. I want what's best for them at all costs. And what is good to me is what is good for my people. And that's it. Has nothing to do with any other race on the planet. So, continuing along that vein, actually, I actually forgot I was going to mention it earlier, and then I forgot it. Now I just remembered it.
Yeah, go for it.
Being pro-white has nothing to do with the white race being superior to anyone either, which is another argument that they'll make, is that, well, you're pro-white, it's because, they'll say, well, why do you believe the white race is superior? My position has always been, I couldn't care less if the white race was the most inferior race on the face of the earth. I'm pro-white because I'm a white man, and these are my people, and therefore I'm pro my people. So again, I don't care about other races. I'm not anti non-white. I'm not anti-black or anything like that. I'm just pro-white. So again, and you can extend this dichotomy into every other decision you make, or any other political choice you make, or any social or philosophical position you want to present. Do you represent something positive, a pro something, or are you operating from a position of negative, like anti something?
Yeah, I mean, some good points. I just want to clarify one thing before I touch on some of the points you made there. Some people are talking a little bit about the vaccine and the thing. And I agree. Any forced medication, when a government can tell you that they can force something in your body past your all of your natural defenses, you're in a dangerous position. Regardless of if you think the vaccine works or not, you shouldn't. When the government can force medicate the average person, remember, forced medication is only given in any state at the moment to forced medicate. Sorry, people in jail and criminals and mentally ill. So they're either saying you're a criminal or mentally ill. But to get back to the points that RC was making there about the, well, kind of false dichotomy that if you're pro one thing, you're anti the other. I mean, first of all, we've got to say in our community, we're the only ones held to that standard, right, RC? The celebration, the you know, if an African American does a video embracing their race and loving their own, and all these big corporations say support black businesses, etc., 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 that is seen as the highest beauty in our society, or portrayed so at least. If we just say, like you do often, and I see with many of your tweets, you just say, you know, I'm for my own people, you immediately get accused of wanting to hate, kill, etc. All these nonsense arguments that you're anti everybody else. I mean, so that is by design, right? It's just, but I mean, it goes down to basics, like you say again. I mean, discrimination. It's like a bad word. Well, discrimination, you do it every day. Everybody does. You discriminate between what coffee brand you drink, what gym you train at. You discriminate against every day. Discrimination is the process of elimination. It's a process of choice. If you remove discrimination, so the underpinning message here, if you're not allowed to discriminate, you're not allowed a choice, is what they're saying. Choice is bad, right? Having a choice is bad, especially if it's a wrong choice. And this is why we see platforms like YouTube censoring the crap out of everybody that disagrees with them. Because they can. And we're seeing this with the vaccine. As somebody mentioned in the chat earlier, I forgot who it was, I apologise, but it's something I agree with. This won't be forced on you by government. It'll be forced, do you want a job here? Get the vaccine. And it is very easy for the state to step in and say that that's illegal. But they won't. They'll allow corporations to dictate medical policy of a country. You know, I mean, this is madness. But you know, and you point on Antifa just to explain what you were saying there in a metaphorical way. It's easy to take a sledgehammer to a grand piano, right? It's easy to hate the grand piano. It's very hard to build one. Yeah. Very hard to make one, but you know, anyone can smash it. When you're anti, what you're saying is you're just a destructive force. You have no other opinion. You have no other ideal other than to destroy. When you're pro, what you're saying is I'm a creative force. I'm going out into this world and I'm going to create beauty. But anti will always destroy and pro will always create. And you could argue that we've got a little bit of both going on here. There's a little bit of things that we hate, a little bit of things that we're anti. But I think overall, we should focus on creating our own world, creating our own mythos, creating our own reality within the boundaries of nature, of course, within the boundaries of the physical limitations of man. But at the same time, the form of man and how man acts and how man pursues life, we see this change throughout the ages. We can look back at, 100 years ago, and people carried themselves completely differently. Completely differently. Why? Because they lived, their reality was different. Their belief systems were different. And we sadly, for many of us, we kind of have the belief systems of children, really, and not in the good way, not in the beautiful, hopeful way, not in the imaginative way. We have the belief systems of children in the fact that we don't want to take consequence for our actions. This is seen by people asking for freedom. They want freedom to do what they want with no consequence. But also in the whole way our society is set up in this system, it makes us cattle, domesticated, because we have to. Everything we do becomes a choice between slavery and death. Or We don't really make choices based on what we want. We make choices the best of what we can do because we're told what we need to do. And most people are happy with that. They say they're not. They're crying around about freedom, but they are. They are happy, or else it wouldn't be. Like that old saying, you're exactly where you should be because that's where you are. If you wanted to be somewhere different, you'd be somewhere different. If you wanted it bad enough, and like I said earlier, when I was talking about the boundaries of the state and people willing to protect it, the value of anything, be it the value of your house, the value of your children, the value of the food you eat, is only determined by what you are willing to stake against it, what you are willing to put on the line for it. Yeah, that's basic economics. If you are willing to take servitude over death, then you're going to get servitude because somebody else is going to be willing to up the stakes to death, right? And like we was talking earlier about the brutality of nature, who's willing to take the biggest risks is going to get the biggest rewards. And if you're not, if you're not going to say a word because you're not allowed to, then you're never gonna be allowed to say that word. Yeah, because you're going to censor yourself. They don't even need to put you in jail, just the threat. And that's the thing. The state will use threat but like I said earlier with the lion, the wildebeest has big freaking horns, man. That's its threat. The lion still takes its chances, or else it's going to starve to death. Sorry, RC. Have you got anything to add there about? I went a bit on a tangent there. I probably should have. Maybe you can bring us back on point.
Well, no, I was going to add to one of the things you were saying is that people by nature, they do just kind of want somebody to make the hard decisions for them.
Yeah, that's
they don't want to take the responsibility of choosing for themselves and then choosing incorrectly. Because when you do that, you have to suffer the consequences. I know this well because most of my closest friends are either in the military now or are retired military. And especially when they're young, they'll tell you, like, honestly, they get as much as military life sucks, and it does suck. There's nothing fun or pleasant about it. I mean, you lose all autonomy. I mean, you're subject of orders night and day. I mean, they decide literally when you go to sleep, when you wake up, and you don't even get to complain. If they decide that you're complaining, you might get smoked just for complaining. But these young guys, they'll tell you, like, as much as that sucks, the idea of, especially when they go in at 18 years old, the idea of them leaving the military at, say, 24, or if they do, a couple contracts, it gets scary. They're like, well, I don't really want to go out and have to make these decisions. Like, I don't have to worry about, whether or not I'm going to show up to work today. He's like, I don't have a choice. I get up because I know I have to get up and I have to be somewhere. But in the real world, I mean, I could just choose not to set my alarm. I could choose to sleep in and not go to work in the morning. I'm not going to suffer these consequences. And they start to say, well, that's actually kind of difficult to trust themselves. So in a good society where you have good leaders making these decisions for people, their inability to make their own decisions isn't bad.
No.
It's bad now. It's working against us now because they're letting the wrong people make the decisions for them.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's ultimately what's the purpose of the pro-white movement, right? Like, this is what it is ultimately we have to become we have to become what replaces what's killing us now. We have to replace this currently existing system with people who actually care about white people. And that's the whole point of this in the first place, right? Like, I mean, I'm not good at what we're doing right now. I mean, trying to articulate like our, everything to an audience. Like, I'm not good at this. I'm not good at giving speeches. I'm not good at, I'm not even good at like reading scripts, like, so I would rather not be doing this, but we have to, because we don't have people where they need to be. I mean, even I'm not where I need to be. I mean, I need to be, underneath some leader figure showing everybody what the absolute most loyal follower looks like. Because that's what I feel like my strongest suit is that once I've actually found somebody I'm loyal to, I mean, that's what gets the best out of me is serving somebody that I believe is serving the greater good of my people. And if they can do it better than me, then that's what I want to do.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
No,
So
no.
yeah, go on.
No, I agree. And like, this is another argument that we get. We get this argument you hear many times that how can we reach everyone? You don't need to. Most people will follow power. They will follow their moral compass and power. And if you set the moral compass, if you set the power, they will follow you. 80% plus of the world's population are meant to follow. That's just a fact. And if you're one of them, that doesn't, like you said, Ossie, it doesn't make you a bad person. It's ingrained in us through thousands of years of living in society to fit into the society we're in. Because if we don't fit into that tribal group, we'd be kicked out among the wolves, and it's not a good life. Yeah, it's very hard in those ancient times to live as an individual, to live on your own.
Well, we're hardwired to fear ostracization. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing worse to us than social rejection.
No.
In fact, as I've mentioned before, and I think I mentioned on my first show that I ever did, social rejection activates the same parts of the brain as physical pain does. And so if you experience social rejection long enough, it actually creates the same types of conditions as if you had suffered trauma or torture.
Yeah.
I mean, it will cause lifelong problems beyond that. So,
the
last thing we want to do is do what's going to get us kicked out of our own people, and that's why so many people they toe the line, even though, like, when you talk to them privately, there are more people that agree with us on more things than you would think. It's just, right now the powers that be have us convinced that the real power is with the anti-white position, to be general. The leftist, the liberal, the progressive, the anti-white position. But in reality, more people do feel like we do. They really are afraid of being rejected from society. And I mean, I don't blame them, because again, that's our biological hardwiring. And when we have the right leadership, again, that fear of social rejection works very well in our favor in terms of creating a healthy society. Because when you have good people, you have people not wanting, the masses don't want to be ostracized from them. And that's good, because those leaders want to do right by them. But these ones, it's like a form of Stockholm syndrome. We're being held captive by horrible fucking people. But
leaders shape your environment. That's a fact. And if your environment is a positive environment, it shapes positive people that work well together. Yeah. If the leaders are negative and creating a negative environment, they will put you in like mental trauma, like you say, mental trauma of rejection, and you will spiral downhill. And when you're spiraling downhill, anybody knows this that suffered from depression or suffered from some mental anxiety. When you're at your lowest, somebody could kick down your door, call you all the names under the sun, and it's not that you can't defend yourself. You don't care to defend yourself. And that's where they want us. They want us in a position of such depression, such hopelessness, that we don't even want to defend ourselves. Yeah, we go, whatever. Yeah, I'm not bothered. And like I say, people that suffer from depression will understand that feeling of not really caring what happens to you. Yeah? Not really caring what, it's something that comes with that. But we're in this, certainly a mental trauma that they're trying to cause. I mean, look at all this fear-mongering with the COVID, for example. I mean, holy crap. If you just took the media as it was, you just turned on your little tube in the corner of your room and you took what they said as verbatim, you'd be worried that outside you could die of getting something. That you need to have something injected in your body and you need everybody else to do it or you're going to die. I mean, if you get clocked in that is complete trauma-based control. You can't tell me that the whole COVID situation is not trauma-based. You know what I mean? It's literally about keeping you in constant fear and then calling that fear heroism. Look how heroic I am because I'm so freaking scared. I mean, it's the inversion of heroism. So when the media say anything is a hero, they're saying that they're actually doing the opposite. They're saying that they're a coward, that they've caved into their fears. And sadly, fear, if you want to know what's your true enslaver, right? If you want to cut down through all of the bullshit, not the person that's putting the chains on you. It's the fear in your head. It's the voice that says, oh no, that's too risky. It's now, there's discernment, and I'm not talking against discernment, but if you allow the fear to win, then you will always be a slave to that fear if you allow fear to be your counsel. We're going to have to wrap up soon here because it's been a while. I know we had a few technical difficulties, but we are going to have to wrap up because I'm getting a little bit tired. I haven't had much sleep the last few days. I'm very busy. But so, RC, is there anything you want to finish on, mate, or any points you want to make? Because I know we went off on a few tangents there. So,
Well, yeah, I was actually going to stop you about 15 minutes ago and say, like, yeah, it's probably time to wrap up. Because we're not trying to be like everybody else doing 2 and 3 hour shows. We tend to only like to do an hour, but given the technical difficulties and stuff like that, we decided to carry it on a little bit longer. But yeah, the only thing that I really want people to take away from all this is that everything begins at the beginning. And if you really want to see anything, whether it's your own ethno state, whether it's your own pro-white political party, whether it's just a pro-white enclave, or even if you just want to buy some property, right, and rent out some buildings to white people, like, everything begins by getting out in the real world and making friends in the real world. You have to do that. You cannot start a real movement online. You can spread an idea online and let that idea, sprout where it may. But if you really want things to work, you got to know people, and especially in your immediate vicinity, because if you need to do work, like even this show right here. I mean, it would be so great if you and I lived next door to each other and could just like sit down in each other's living room and do this stuff together face to face, rather than being 5,000-6,000 miles away from each other. It's just, you have to have people there immediately with you. So enjoy what you do online and do what you do online the best you can, but also, hey, just make even just 1 or 2 friends in real life who share 75 or 80% of the same perspective you do. Like, it has to be done. We can't just do one thing and not the other. If we're going to do this right, we have to do both.
Yeah, and I agree totally. And take what you can from the online world. Take what you can, what comfort you can, what inspiration you can, what nourishment you can from online world, and apply it in the real world. Yeah, networking, and apply the things. You might have a great video. We might watch guys that work out, guys that do this, guys that do that. Whatever it is, like I said, find out what you are, apply it. The internet is a great resource, and it can. And for people out there that are completely isolated, I understand for them it's literally their lifeline to sanity. But so it's not all bad, but you've got to try and start to apply. Try and build that confidence. Try and build yourself up. So yeah, and anyway, we're going to get off. So yeah, and again, I apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning. I will get this sorted out. Sorry for only appearing in your left ears, but I know RC was there for both, so that's good. But yeah, so thanks for joining us, because there's been quite a few people here, and there's no point doing this without you guys. That is 100%. And I know somebody asked if we were going to make it a weekly show. We're probably going to do more in the new year. Because of the technical difficulties, I didn't really explain the plan. But yeah, in the new year, we're going to be doing more with Mimmir's Bonner and more with Mimmir's Council. So we'll see about doing some kind of semi-regular slot with RC if he's up for it. In the new year for sure. I've just got to get a few things in order, and then we're coming back at full speed next year. So look out for us both here on Mimmir's Council and Mimmir's Brunner. And our last word is we will at some point, when Odysee, which is backed up by LBRY, that we promote quite a lot, get their live streams up. We may cut out YouTube altogether and do our part to not feed the beast. So make sure you subscribe over to our LBRY channel and over at DLive if you want to see the live streams. But if you want to see the videos, make sure that you subscribe over there at LBRY or Odysee. There's some links in the description, I believe, to make sure you catch us when we come back in the new year. So thanks again, guys. It's been great having you, and hope you enjoyed the show or got something from it, and I'll speak to you soon. Be well for now.